Hey, what is up, everybody? I'm here to give you guys my Halloween movie review series, and this is going to be number 30. Got two more to go. I want to try to get these up before the night's over. So, in this video, I'm going to be reviewing E.T. E.T. I'm trying to see how this. E.T. the Extraterrestrial. And obviously, this was a huge movie that's come out. It's been out for a while now. Pretty much everybody has seen it except me. I actually had never seen this film. I don't know why it didn't happen. Um, it was pretty popular when I was a kid. It didn't come out when I was a kid, but more people talked about it. And yeah, it's just one of those movies that's very popular, and it's a very good kid movie. So I just haven't seen it yet. So I wanted to include it in my Halloween movie review series. I think it was a perfect fit because it involves an alien, so I think it makes sense for it to be on here. So I'm just going to start going through this. So this movie actually came, the movie actually was was directed by Steven Spielberg, um, and it came after his parents' divorce in 1960, and he would fill the void with imaginary, with an imaginary alien companion. So, um, because he felt like he never, he actually says a quote saying, uh, that a friend could be the brother. Uh, the imaginary alien friend was a friend who could be the brother I never had and a father that I didn't feel I had anymore. And then, um, and he had started making various films kind of related to this. In 1978, he made Growing Up, in which he would film in just 28 days. Um, then the project was put aside to delays on 1941. Um, but he continued making small films about it. Um, he thought about a follow up to 1941 with Close Encounters of the Third Kind, and then he didn't really like it that much, so he started. So, screenwriter Melissa Matheson told him about Night Skies, which was another movie he made, and they developed a subplot in which Buddy, the only friend alien, befriends an autistic child. Um, and then this is where the ET concept comes in, and they wrote like a first draft wall in 8 weeks, and then they went through two more drafts, and then they finally released the film in theaters. They Carlo Rambalda was hired to design ET, the way ET looked, and pretty much a lot of work went into actually making like ET, because ET wasn't easy to make because this was back in the 1980s, and a lot of work pretty much went into making them. I'm not really going to go into detail about it. Um, and what else? They started filming the movie in 1981. Um, and ironically enough, they didn't really want people to know that they were filming this movie, so they did things like people used to have ID cards to actually go and to talk with the uh, writers about making this film, which I thought was interesting. Um, and yeah, that's pretty much about it. So yeah, I've kind of talked about that. Let's just get right into the review itself. And this movie came out on. Well, this movie was directed by Steven Spielberg. It was produced by Kathleen Kennedy and Steven Spielberg as well. It was written by Melissa Matheson, which I already mentioned. Um, the music is done by John Williams, and he does a fantastic job at that. And the cinematography is done by Alien Davu. It was edited by Carol Littleton, and Universal Pictures actually was the production company and also distributed this film. And the film actually has 2 release dates. It came out in Cannes, which is in which is a film festival. But it came out there on May 26, 1982, and then it came out in the United States on June 11th, 1982. And this movie had a $10.5 million budget going into it. I'm assuming a lot of the money probably went into making E.T. because that's probably where a lot of the money went. And now that I've kind of discussed all that, let me start talking about the film itself. So the movie starts off. We see these 2 aliens just randomly pop up into on Earth, and they were running around looking for something. And these scientists, well, we didn't really know what they were yet. They were just mystery guys, but I think throughout this whole film, you kind of start to figure out that they actually are scientists, and they're pretty much trying to find these aliens. We didn't really know what they were actually. That we were just, but we had known they were aliens because they came out like in a big spaceship, and one of the aliens tries to run away, and he doesn't make it in time, so the spaceship takes off before he gets back to him in time, and he pretty much has to hide from these mystery people. And then it cuts back to the house, and we meet the family. We meet the actually, they didn't say the last names actually, but we meet Elliot, Michael, Gertie, and Mary, who was Elliot's mother, and we meet them, and Michael is kind of like that asshole older brother, and he sends Elliot out to go pay for the pizza, and because they had ordered a pizza, and this is important because Elliot had overheard something in the backyard, and he had thrown his baseball into the garage, and somebody had thrown it back to him, which obviously we know was going to be this creature. So this freaks out Elliot. He goes to tell everybody about it. Everybody checks. They don't see anything, but they get suspicious because they see footprints of this creature, but they just assume that it was coyotes or something. So then, Elliot then hears something at night, and when he goes outside, he goes into the cornfield, and then he sees this creature again, and this freaks him out. He tells everybody about it. Nobody believes him, and when he's talking to about it with his mom, Michael, and Gertie, his nobody believes him, and he tells him that Dad would have believed him, and his mother suggests that he should call his father, and he says that he can't because he went to Mexico with his girlfriend. So obviously this upsets Mary, because obviously that means that pretty much her husband pretty much cheated on her with this woman, is what we were supposed to, I think, take away from this. And Michael gets upset. He's saying that you should start thinking about other people's emotions other than yourself. And then later on in the night, Elliot is leaving a trail of M&Ms, so that way this creature will come after him. And later on, he's also sleeping in his chair, and the creature comes up, and he leaves a trail of M&Ms, so that way the creature will come and eat him. And he finally meets the creature, which was an alien, and the alien pretty much does everything that he does. And the next day, Elliot pretends to be sick, so that way he can hang out with this alien. So he doesn't have to go to school or anything like that. And then he shows the alien all the stuff that humans would do. He shows him coke, like action figures, fish, and he goes to win the alien some food, and um, the alien then opens up an umbrella upstairs, and um, when the umbrella opens, Elliot ended up dropping like the milk on the ground. So then he gives the alien some food, and then later on in the day, Michael comes home, and Michael finds out that he wasn't sick, and Elliot shows Michael the alien because nobody had believed him that what they had called Goblin actually existed. So when um, Elliot shows Michael the goblin, the alien. Michael gets shocked about this, and then Gertie comes home, and Gertie screams, and Elliot has Gertie, the alien, and Michael hide in the closet, and while he talks to his mother, and pretty much they swear not to tell anyone. They're just going to keep this to themselves. And later on in the day, the next day, when Elliot leaves to go to school, this was the first time they had left the alien home by himself. So the alien pretty much rummages through the house, and he drinks beer, and he eats food, and the alien is somehow connected to Elliot's behavior. Like the alien's behavior is connected with Elliot because every time the alien does something, Elliot would do it. So, for example, when he burps, um, Elliot would burp. Since the alien had had a little bit too much to drink, um, the alien was drunk, so Elliot ended up becoming drunk. And they were supposed to dissect frogs, so Elliot ended up freeing all the frogs. And the alien was watching a movie. It was a movie from like back in the 50s, and there was like a kissing scene in the movie, and Elliot ended up just kissing one of his classmates, which was pretty funny, and didn't really get followed up with. So then, um, later on in the day, Mary and Gertie come home, and the alien has learned how to talk. He's able to say, he was watching the show where they teach you all the B's, and he was able to say all the words that began with B, the letter B, and Mary finds out that the situation that happened with Elliot at school. Then when Elliot comes home, he um, hears that the alien can talk. So the alien starts speaking. They decide to call it E.T., and E.T. says that he wants to phone home. And Elliot's been asking him where home is. So E.T. wants Elliot to build this device that's going to help him get in contact with his species. So, he wants Elliot to get him the stuff to build. So Elliot gets everything, and and as this happens, we see that these mystery people were trying to find E.T. They had found the tracks of M&Ms that Elliot had left outside, and then eventually they find out that it's at Elliot's house because they hear they hear Elliot and Michael talking about it, and then they also hear them talking about like their dad. And I actually thought, like, just as a swerve, this was going to end up being their father, but it wasn't the case. And then E.T. builds this machine, and he wants to be able to communicate with his species, so they have to go into a field to use this machine. So to do this, so that way Mary won't see it, the mother. Since E.T. and Gertie are like the same size, they disguise E.T. up in a ghost outfit for Halloween as if it's Gertie, which I thought was kind of funny. And when Mary went to take the picture of it, E.T. like fell to the ground, and then they all supposedly go trick or treating. So they walk, and one funny thing is they were walking through the neighborhood, and E.T. sees Yoda from Star Wars, and I actually love that reference in there. And then so then Gertie and E.T. switch places. E.T. tries to communicate his family. He fails, and Elliot doesn't want E.T. to leave because he loves E.T. and he pretty much E.T. is like the closest thing that Elliot has to a friend because he constantly gets treated like crap by Michael's friends, and he doesn't really have a lot of friends in school. So E.T.'s been like the closest thing that he's had to a friend, and he also really hasn't had much of a father figure since his parents had split up. So the next morning when Elliot wakes up, he said that E.T.'s been missing, and Mary had called the cops because Elliot hadn't come home all night. So when Elliot comes home, they're all happy to see him. Elliot tells Michael that he can't find E.T., so Michael goes to look for him, and Michael gets followed by somebody, but we don't know who it is. And Elliot then finds E.T. passed out along a lake, so he takes him, and it cuts back to the house, and we see this mysterious man watching over the house, and Michael tells his mother about E.T., and like I said, since E.T. and Elliot's personalities are mixed with each other, E.T. is like pretty much on his deathbed, so that kind of causes Elliot to be a little bit on his deathbed. And Mary thinks that E.T. is dangerous, so they have um, they have they have everybody evacuate the room, and then a bunch of scientists come in, and they pretty much quarantine the whole house. And a quote that I loved that Mary said was, "This is my house," and she screamed it, and the whole house is pretty much quarantined, and pretty much Elliot and E.T. are pretty much being strapped. And one of the scientists is talking to Elliot, and he talks about how he's been looking forward to this discovery. Now, I actually thought that this was going to be his dad, because I actually thought that would have made sense, but it actually wasn't his dad. Because I actually thought what would have happened was his dad actually had lied, and he was actually like one of these scientists, but he didn't really go in that direction. But pretty much, E.T. somehow his behavior doesn't become linked with Elliot's anymore, so Elliot's fine. But E.T. dies. And you actually had known that something was going to be off with E.T. because earlier in the film, he had gotten a potted plant and he had caused all the potted plant to grow. And you see that the plant actually dies after E.T. dies. So we think that E.T. is dead. They actually did a very good job making us think that. And pretty much they were going to do like an autopsy on him. So they give Elliot a few minutes to be alone with him. And then when Elliot pretty much says that he's never going to forget E.T., I thought he cut a very good speech of him, a very good tribute speech towards E.T., and then when he leaves, he sees that the plant starts to come alive again. So he realizes that E.T. is still alive, and E.T. was in a body bag pretty much at this point, and he says E.T. phone home. So pretty much E.T.'s species is coming so that way he can go home. So Elliot pretends that E.T. actually did die, and the original plan was Michael was going to go in dressed up as one of the scientists, and I guess take E.T. so that way they could take him home, but it fails because he doesn't put the mask on. So one of the guys catches him. They do this whole chase scene with Michael and his friends and Elliot, where everybody's chasing after him. I thought the chase scene was pretty good, but it was a little bit too much. And when it looks like they're going to get trapped, I actually forgot to mention this, that Elliot and E.T. were riding a bike earlier in the film, and E.T. helps Elliot actually be able to fly. And also another thing that E.T. is able to do is anytime he cuts himself, or anytime somebody cuts themselves, E.T. can heal them, which is very cool. But everybody starts flying on the bicycles, and then eventually E.T. finally goes home. He says goodbye to Gertie. He tells her to be good. He thanks Michael, and he pretty much says that Elliot's been his best friend, and then the film ends with E.T. finally getting on the ship and going home. And overall, I actually thought this film was fantastic. I think it was a pretty perfect film, actually. I thought the film was structured very well. I liked the relationship that E.T. and Elliot had with each other throughout the film. And I actually loved The I actually love the characters in this film and the cast. I thought the cast was very good, and E.T. was himself was good. Overall, I thought the film was really good. I definitely would recommend it. This film's actually been re-released again too. It was on the 20th anniversary on March 22nd, 2002. They re-released it with all the stuff that we didn't see. There was a controversy thing about this film, is that they actually said that the person who made this film, um, Steven Spielberg, actually plagiarized the film. He said that he used a lot of that Alien film from the 1960s in this film, but pretty much they denied it. I forget exactly how that happened. It says there were allegations that the film was plagiarized from a 1967 script, The Alien, by Indian Bengal, and he said that E.T. would not have been possible without my script of The Alien. And he denied the claims because he was a kid. He was a kid in high school when the script was circulated in Hollywood. So that it was pretty much denied because yeah, pretty much we don't really know what happened with it, but pretty much they tried suing him for it in 1983, but it failed. So I guess that didn't work out too well for him. As for how well the film did, I mean, it did very well in the box office. Although the box office draws, um, the film was previewed in Houston, Texas, where it received high marked high marks from viewers. Then it premiered at the 1982 Cannes Film, and was released on in the United States. When it was released on June 11th, 1982, it grossed $11 million and stayed at top of the box office for 6 weeks, but then fell down, and then it picked back up again in the final time in December. In 1983, it surpassed Star Wars as the highest grossest film of all time. And by the end of its theoretical run, it had grossed $359 million in North America and $619 million worldwide. Um, 20 million tickets in the United States was estimated to have been sold in its initial run, and um, then they kind of talk about what they did with it. The critics, pretty much have praised this movie. Um, the film has been nominated for 9 Oscars at the 55th Academy Awards, including Best Picture. Gandhi won that, and it won that award, but its director Richard Attenborough declared that he already knew that he was going to win, and it's pretty much won a ton of awards. Other films that have tried to portray it was utilized in video games. It was utilized in Star Wars Episode 1, The Phantom Menace. And, yeah, it was utilized very well in the 2016 crossover games Lego's Dimension. He appears as one. E.T. appears as one of the playable characters. And then originally they were going to make a sequel. I can just read that real quick. It says in July 1982, during the film's first theoretical run, Steven Spielberg and Melissa Manson wrote a treatment for a sequel to be titled E.T. 2: Nocturnal Fears. It would have shown Elliot and his friends getting kidnapped by evil aliens and follow their attempts to contact E.T. for help. Spielberg decided against pursuing it, feeling it would have do nothing but rob the original of its virginity. It's literally what it says. Which I'm actually happy that didn't happen, because that probably would have ruined the film. And like I said, you don't really need to make another E.T. because the first one was so successful. You don't need to do anything else. It would just kind of come off as a money grab, and I'm not a huge fan of money grab movies. That's kind of one of the reasons I'm not like a huge fan of Ghostbusters 2, Halloween Resurrection, and most remakes. That's like one of the reasons I knock remakes down. So, but overall, I thought this film was really good. If I had to rate this film, I'd give it like a 9 out of 10. I can't really think of anything. Actually, I'll give it a 10 out of 10. I can't really think of anything wrong with it. It's a perfect film all throughout. Actually, no, I'll give it a 9 out of 10 because it didn't really have like a lot of character development in the film, and I kind of like films that have that. It had some, but not a lot. But I thought I pretty much stated why I think that, so not really going to go into it again. Now going over the cast, you had Henry Thomas play Elliot, Robert McNaughton played Michael, Drew Barrymore played Gertie, Dee Wallace played Mary, Peter Coda played Keys. I don't remember who that was. Casey Martell played Greg. I think these are all like Steve's friends now. Sean Fry played Steve. C. Thomas Howell played Tyler. Erica Ellenkai played the girl Elliot kisses. And Pat Welsh was the voice of E.T. And that's pretty much it for the movie. I got one more of these to do, so I'm pretty happy about that. So let's just finish off the series because it's I'd like to finish it. So I'm gonna go do my final one, but that's pretty much it, guys. Talk to you later.